What's up, everyone? Welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. And as usual, we'll be checking out some more Reddit posts today, so feel free to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments, and let's get into it. Free breakfast for a limited time this morning for loud hotel neighbors. A few weeks ago, our family was staying at a hotel resort for a relaxing weekend. Unfortunately, we got roomed underneath a herd of buffalo, or a family of 6, I couldn't tell which. As we put our kids to bed, we hushed them and reminded them we were in a hotel with other guests, so we could be as courteous as possible. Not the buffalo family above us. For hours into the night until well after midnight, they were banging and slamming things in the room above. And while I can sleep through almost anything and the kids were exhausted and asleep, I knew it was steaming my wife, and that was making me more and more angry. Unhappy wife, unhappy life. Anyway, we all managed to finally fall asleep. However, my superpower is needing little sleep. I get up every day at 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. Sure enough, the next morning, a few 4 hours later, I woke up like clockwork, and instantly I had my revenge. Going down to the elevator core, I located a house phone and dialed their room, 6 and the room number, the room directly above ours. It rang 5 or 6 times with no answer. I hung up and was feeling a little guilty and about to give up, when I remembered I wasn't getting laid today because of these clowns. Said F it and rang back again. This time, a groggy female answered the phone, like barely. Hello? In my most chipper voice, I said, "Good morning, this is the front desk with your morning wake-up call. Are you awake?" I hear confusion on the other end. "We have a special thank you gift for families staying with us today. Free breakfast buffet and admission to the water park today. However, it is first come, first served, and you and your guests must claim your award at the front desk in the next 30 minutes. More confusion, and I thank her and hang up. Next, I camped out in the lobby to wait and see what happened. Sure enough, about 20 minutes later, a train of groggy, half-dressed family members come down to the front desk, looking annoyed, sleepy, and did I see hope in their eyes? As soon as they hit the front desk, it got heated. The mom demanding to see the on-duty manager, and the manager trying to explain that they didn't call and don't offer that. It must have taken 5 minutes for them to figure out it was a prank and sulk back to their room. I left and went to get some coffee and enjoyed the rest of my morning. Kicked out and given $7.30 after $1,000+ casino win. Hey all, so me and a few buddies are driving back from Wyoming, and after finding out it's 18+, we're all 19, we decided to stop at a restaurant with some slots. I sit down, put $20 in, and get about 2 spins in before an employee walks up and asks for my ID. No problem, it's Wyoming and I'm 19. She checks it pretty extensively, so I'm assuming she actually checks my ID. Plus the Colorado ID says under 21 right on it. Anyways, she looks at it, says thanks, have fun, then checks my friends' IDs. Everything's good, and about 3 spins later I hit a major jackpot for $1,097.26. The lady is still next to us and watching this unfold. We're all excited and she looks happy for us and says they got a hand pay. Now I'm at the desk handing a different lady my ID and she says, "Are you only 19? To which I gladly say yeah. She then starts telling me that this location is 21+, and that only some of their locations are 18+, which to be fair it did say on the website, just not which locations, which is why we went in to find out. We didn't see any signs walking in and literally had our IDs checked by staff before winning. Anyways, she calls her boss, who says to pay what's left from what I put in out of my 20, $7.30 instead of the $1,000+. Am I at fault or did I just get robbed? Update. After writing a very long and strongly worded letter to the place and their parent company, and informing them that I'd be contacting the Wyoming Gaming Commission and an attorney if we were unable to solve this problem directly today, I received a call from them today that they will be both banning me and paying me out. So I'm grateful for all the advice and PMs. Glad I didn't have to escalate it further, but the fact they were able to do this in the first place was wild. Gonna have a real annoying 3-hour total ride back up to Wyoming to claim this though. Neighbor tried to weaponize town code enforcement. It backfired. My backyard neighbor has been difficult since the day I moved in. We closed on the house in late December, and by early spring she was demanding I spend $10,000 to build a dry well to stop rainwater from flowing into her yard. My property sits higher than hers, and it has been this way for over 60 years. I refused, but offered to let her pay for it herself. She declined. A few weeks later, she called the town to complain about a floodlight on my property that was missing a cover. Code enforcement came by while we had people over, which made the whole situation embarrassing. The officer just told us she's known for this and not to worry, just correct the issue. No fines were issued. A week later, the inspector returned to re-inspect the light. We had a nice chat, everything was in order, and the case was closed. On Father's Day, we held a small surprise party for my father-in-law's 80th birthday and played music on a small Sonos speaker. The following Friday, the same code enforcement officer called me to say my neighbor had complained again. He told me not to worry, but reminded me that if I ever held a party with music and I wanted to avoid drama, I should apply for a permit. In mid-July, I overheard my neighbor on the phone inviting people to a barbecue, giving the date and time. The following Monday, I went to town hall, applied for a permit for that exact date and time, and it was approved. On the day of her party, as her guests arrived, I turned on loud old Greek chanting music from the early 1900s. My grandparents loved it and used to torture me and my cousins with it growing up, so I knew exactly how annoying it would sound blasting across the yard. Within minutes, she ran over, banging on my door and ringing my doorbell repeatedly. The Ring doorbell footage of her tantrum is hilarious. I did not answer since I had taken out my wife and my neighbors to the left and right of my house for drinks. The next Monday, code enforcement received a complaint. The same officer handled it personally and informed her that a permit had been issued and nothing could be done. Neighbors' aggressive dogs kept attacking mine, so I went full neighborhood tattletale. For context, I have 3 dogs. I'm super conscious of being a responsible owner. If they bark outside, they're brought in immediately, and each one of them has been trained extensively in obedience. My neighbors also have 3 dogs. When they first moved in, they were shocked at how well-trained mine were. I could tell it made them insecure because theirs were and still are out of control, reactive, and constantly barking. So when they would see me address mine, they would tell me, "Don't do that, they're just being dogs and doing their job." Translation: they don't want to feel bad about their own dog's chaotic behavior. Now my yard is fenced in with a vinyl picket fence, 8K. They built their fence using mine as the 4th wall, which wasn't an issue, until one of their dogs started repeatedly trying to break through my fence to attack mine. I went above and beyond to avoid conflict and installed privacy backing on my fence and planted 15 boxwoods, 1K more, in an attempt to block the view so their dog wouldn't go berserk. Neighbor's husband literally mocked me, saying, "That's not gonna work, they'll still hear each other." Spoiler, he was right. So after the extra financial investment and labor-intensive work of planting the bushes didn't work, I sent a polite, carefully worded text and asked that they prevent their dog from attacking my fence, as I was concerned it was gonna eventually break, offered solutions, emphasized safety, and said I still wanted to maintain good rapport with one another. Their response? Play the victim and blame my dogs. Then I started getting unhinged texts from the wife about how my message ruined her week, and how stressful this is for them and how I owed her an apology. Eventually they put up a 6-foot privacy fence attached to mine, illegal height, but whatever, since they now hate me I'd prefer not seeing them, hence why I didn't report it to the town. Problem solved, right? Nope. They started letting their dogs off leash in the unfenced areas. I ended up getting security cameras installed, and thank God I did, because I caught everything on video. The same dog trying to break through my fence to attack my dogs, their other 2 running into my garden, and all of them running at large in the street where people walk constantly. After they started cursing me out when their dog tried attacking mine, I got the police involved, which infuriated her. The lieutenant himself told me to keep sending every clip and he'd find them every single time. He was genuinely concerned about the safety in the neighborhood after seeing my footage. Now for the petty revenge. Tonight I caught them on camera walking their dog in the wildlife refuge across the street. Dog poops. They don't pick it up. My neighborhood has a Facebook group where people constantly complain about mystery poop. So this time, instead of ignoring it, I sent the video to our community leader. He told me to post it publicly and also asked that I email every resident about their behavior. Done. Now the entire neighborhood knows they're the scumbags who let their dogs off leash, have an aggressive dog trying to attack others, don't pick up after them. People even commented they've stopped walking on our block because they felt unsafe, and others said they always wondered who was leaving the piles all over. Even better, our community leader also personally went over to shame them and said he'd bring it up with the cops too. Power in numbers, baby. So tonight, instead of me being frustrated, they got called out publicly, shamed privately, and will likely get fined again soon. And I got to sit back knowing every single word I said was backed by video evidence, with no way for them to spin it. Boomer killed my daughter's sunflower trying to steal it for her granddaughter. My daughter planted sunflowers in her kindergarten class last spring. She came home with half a dozen seedlings and a cup of dirt and a huge smile. We planted them in the corner of the yard next to the sidewalk. Only 2 of the plants made it. One grew tall and opened up a huge flower last week. The other was a skinny little thing, just a couple feet tall, that bloomed a beautiful little sunflower just yesterday. The whole family went for a walk today. This weekend is our town's annual big festival, and we live near downtown, so there were lots of extra people parking and walking through our neighborhood. We were almost home when we saw a Boomer and her granddaughter walking towards us along the sidewalk. They passed our house and stopped at the corner. Without any hesitation, Grandma reached over and pulled up the little sunflower, roots and all. My wife told me to say something, probably knowing that if she opened her mouth at this woman, she was going to cuss her out in front of our 3 little girls. I yelled something like, "Hey, that's our sunflower. This is our house. My daughter planted that flower." She froze for a second, then started putting it back. She muttered something about how it came up by the roots, so it would be fine. The stem broke as she pulled it, and the soil was dry. It wasn't fine. She kept saying, "I didn't know." I said, "You knew it wasn't your yard." The granddaughter apologized to my daughter and they shuffled off. We cut the flower and it's now in water in my daughter's room. She's okay with the situation now. But seriously, who thinks doing something like that is okay? Anyway, that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video. And also, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more Reddit content like this. So take care, friends, and I'll see you next time.